Inside the Fox 59 CBS 4 podcast studio, welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. I'm Dave Griffiths. Glad to have you here. Joining me, as per usual, we've got Mike Chappell. We've got Matt Adams. We're ready to talk some horseshoe football as the Colts get set to host the Titans this week. Finally, we have football weather in central Indiana, guys. At long last, a break from summer, for crying out loud. Not that we're going to feel it inside Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday. I am sure the roof and window will be very much closed because every time it's below 70 degrees, then close it on up, even if it's a very nice day outside. Nevertheless, we can talking injuries and roster updates for both teams. We will start beginning the show with just a quick Hall of Fame update as making the next cut down from 128 players to 52 players in the modern era nominees for the Hall of Fame. And Reggie Wayne, Robert Mathis, Adam Vinatieri, no surprise they make that cut to 52. A bigger test in the next couple weeks, at least for Robert Mathis, I would say, will be trimmed down to 25 players in a couple weeks.
He's not made the 25 before.
Right. I don't believe he has. And so that's that would be a hurdle for him. Only the guy who has the most strip sacks in NFL history, and no big deal. And it's yeah.
But he is like, was it 20th or 21st all time in sacks?
Correct.
So it's
I get it.
Right. It's understandable. But again, it showed me when Dwight Freeney got in on his second year, how nationally those two are viewed.
Yeah. Yep. And very much that lean toward Dwight, the Syracuse man himself, as opposed to one of the greatest fifth-round picks in NFL history, Robert Mathis, to do what he did.
Right.
First-time nominees who made the cut down to 52 include quarterback Drew Brees, who's a shoo-in, lock first-time ballot, quarterback Phillip Rivers, running back Frank Gore, running back LaShawn McCoy, wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, who seems like a lock, tight end Greg Olsen, tight end Jason Witten, and center Marquise Pouncey. Out of all those other ones, like Rivers and Gore are good choices. Witten and Olsen would be an interesting back and forth. I think Witten has the better numbers, Chap, if I'm not wrong.
He's top five.
Yeah, and I think he has a longer career in that. And Olsen ended his a little, not like Robert Smith prematurely or Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson prematurely, I don't think, but just a couple years before, you would think that he could have pushed it a couple more years. So that's maybe why he doesn't have the same numbers that Witten does.
It's funny. Again, I'm on the selection committee. I have been for 20, 25 years. And you always just kind of laugh or smile when somebody says, well, that guy's a Hall of Famer. That guy's a Hall of Famer. And we're going to have some interesting decisions to make in the future. In a year or two, it's Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Adrian Peterson. But what and we're not going to harp on this much today because the Hall of Fame's done a great job of always staying in the news because they pare it down from this to this to
time,
this.
Yes.
But with the way we've changed things, it used to be 5 guys got in, modern era guys. Well, we've made it harder. There was a portion of the Hall of Fame board thought we were getting too many in and watering it down, which I don't agree with. But there's a good chance every year now we get 3 guys. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, what that does is it pushes other guys further. I'm still stunned that Adam Vinatieri was on a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Right.
I mean, only the leading every kicking record, right?
Leading point scorer in NFL history. Points are kind of what the game is about, isn't it?
And he won 2 Super Bowls with kicks. So in the locker room today, Daniel Jones was sitting there getting ready to eat lunch. So I interrupted. I said, if you could, as a quarterback, if you could only have one guy's career, would you want Phillip Rivers or Eli Manning? And he said, which one has better numbers? I said, well, Phillip Rivers has better numbers.
Right.
I said, but he never made the Super Bowl, and Eli's got 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
And if you want to be real critical, that's all Eli has. He's a 50-50 quarterback.
Very much so.
And I think he sided with Eli because
Giants.
there's so and Frank Gore a Hall of Famer.
He's only a top 5 running back in NFL history. Top 3.
16,000 yards on
That's
the
a
button,
lot.
which is amazing that he ended with 16,000.
Yes.
But
Bam.
at no point, at no point was he a top 5 running back in any year. So, but it's interesting, and I feel Reggie Wayne's pain. I do. I know that he should have been in before now. It's just tough sledding, especially tougher with the way we've changed the process.
So more updates on that. Hopefully not too frustrating updates in the future, but just wanted to set the stage there for the challenge to come. Some roster moves and injury updates from the Colts this week. Jalen Jones is back on the practice field, and that's perhaps the biggest update out of all of them.
That's huge.
It is. With all the moves they've had at cornerback, Chap, to get him back, we're not calling Jalen Jones a savior I'm not trying to do that, but he's a steadier, for sure, of the ship.
He was, at the end of training, or at some point in training camp, he was your third outside corner behind Ward and Justin Wally.
Right.
So to get him back, whenever we talk corner, we're always dissing the guys that are playing. But this is the pros, and you can do it. They're playing people who have been on the practice squad, because this is like their sixth or seventh or eighth corners are playing.
They have no option.
Right.
Another option right now.
Whenever I forget the guys on IR, Mike Hilton's on IR.
Right.
And they swung and missed on Xavier Howard. So I don't think Jalen Jones plays this week. He's been out a long time. But I think next week's a really good chance. And we'll get to the injury thing. Kenny Moore didn't practice Wednesday with the Achilles. I really think that's a rest day. The fact that they said they were going to, pitch count against the Chargers, he played a ton.
He played a lot. He
played a lot.
That was a high pitch count.
Right.
That was a Bob Gibson pitch count.
That wasn't that. Well, he's got 100 pitches. No, he played a lot. So, but getting Jalen Jones back is huge. When he gets back is huge.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see whether that is this week or in the future. Like, I would be surprised if he plays this week, just because coming back from a hamstring, like this is not the first week he was eligible to practice. Like, they held him back at least another week.
But then we don't know how hard they've been pushing him.
Right.
But still, to not play for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is. And when he got
right back in,
and when he got hurt, he was playing special teams, and he got hurt on special teams. So I think this, and again, at the risk of looking too far ahead, they're playing Tennessee. And if you can't beat the Titans without Jalen Jones, then you have issues.
Then what are you doing at the end
and
of the day?
And I don't think they have issues.
No, I don't think so either. Maybe just some small issues at cornerback itself, which are kind of big issues, though, with Mooney Ward on the injured reserve
That's
as well.
2 more games for him he needs.
Exactly. So he's not going to be able to suit up this week for sure. When you get 2 concussions in, what was it, like a 6-week time frame or month
the first
plus?
One in the opener.
Yep. So about a 6 or 7 week time frame, whatever it was. Like, I still can't believe what happened to him on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium. Like, to see the replays that were released out to everybody to show what happened was like, whoa.
They were the only 2 guys on that part of the field.
And bam, they found each other. Daggone it. Drew Ogletree and Mooney Ward. And obviously one man of those 2 would win that 9 times out of 10. It looked like me running into Matt Adams out there. It was or Mike Chappell. Either one of you guys.
He stayed down for a while.
Yes, and I would have stayed down for a while in a similar scenario. So now when you don't have a helmet and your head hits the turf like that, your head snaps back. Like, it's
nothing at all to cushion it.
Exactly. Like, even guys that wear helmets, their head hits the turf. Like, that's what happened to Marvin Jr. when he was here and got his.
Alec Pierce.
Yep, him too. Same thing. So when you don't have that helmet, so much worse. And probably a good idea to say, Mooney, take your time. Like, that was a big hit.
Right.
That head needs to get better, and because they need him.
Well, the fact that they put him on IR, it wasn't like, well, he might be ready in 2 weeks. This is one where they said, again, the second one, you really go cautious.
Yep.
And this is a team that wants their players in December and January, because they think this is a team that's going to be playing into January.
I do think that has a lot to do with it as well, is because they're off to such a great start.
Right.
You want to be a little bit cautious here because you do feel like there's going to be a stretch run for this team.
We agree on that. But they would have done this if they were.
I think so too.
If they were 3-4, they really would. No matter what the fans think, these teams err on the side of caution all the time. But the concussions are something you simply do not mess with.
And the Colts signed cornerback David Long Jr. to the practice squad. Should be a familiar name to Colts fans who scour the waiver wires or to listen to this podcast.
He's been on and off the practice squad a fair number of
times. So he could find his way onto the field on Sunday, just being promoted with the way the Colts cornerback room looks right now. The Colts did work out a couple players this week, including Shaq Barrett. He was a former Did he lead the NFL in sacks a couple years ago?
I don't know if he led it, but
he had a lot.
Right.
I remember he had a lot just one year. But there's a reason that he's on the beach right now, so to speak. Defensive end Seth Coleman was signed to the practice squad. He was part of that workout group. And the Colts are looking at defensive ends as well because, Tyquan Lewis and Samson Ebukam were both injured in the Chargers game. For Lewis, it was a groin injury, Ebukam an MCL. The reports on Ebukam is going to be out a couple weeks. I have not been at Colts headquarters the past 2 days. Did Shane Steichen say anything yesterday specifically about that?
No, he said Lewis is day-to-day. Okay. Which means he's got a chance to play this week. And Ebukam, he said, is week to week.
Okay, yeah. That's what I figured it was.
Sampson had a pretty good brace on his right knee.
Yeah.
It just got I think people fell on the side of his knee.
Yeah, it was on a Buckner.
Right.
It was a good play from Buckner, and it just one of those unfortunate things that happens.
Collateral damage.
Yep. Yeah, you hate to see that. And Ebukam, a couple weeks for him probably. Josh Downs is working to come back from concussion protocol. He didn't make it back last week, but we saw him on Wednesday with the red practice jersey out there. I'd assume he's out there on the practice field again today. But
we'll check for participation.
Yes.
But the fact he was out there on Wednesday, it takes those steps, and it's really. I don't know if it's impossible to get clear protocol without Wednesday practice, but it's awful hard.
Yes. So this makes it a whole lot easier for Josh Downs as well, if he could get back onto the field. So with all these injuries and to two positions that are certainly linked to one another, the cornerback and the defensive end, it's rush and cover, one or the other, or both, ideally, if you have good players at both. The NFL's trade deadline is approaching.
November 4th, isn't it?
November 4th.
Right.
It is after Week 9's games in the NFL. So the Colts have 2 more games before the trade deadline arrives. Now, the trade deadline in the NFL is certainly not at the same level as other sports. Like NBA, massive deal, the trade deadline. Major League Baseball, pretty similar. That there's maybe not quite to the level of the NBA, but there's a lot of moves that go on for contenders and teams who are just folding it up and trying to trade for prepare for the future. The NFL just hasn't done that as much. And I guess pushing it back further in the year is the only thing I think that would make teams consider it more, because in the NFL, you're in it for a long time. Right. There's only 16 games. So
17.
Yeah. I'm never going to get used to that.
Sorry, Dave.
Never going to get used to that.
I kept calling them the San Diego Chargers last week.
Nice.
So it happens.
Yes. Well done. Thank you for that.
You correct me enough, so I'll...
No. Thank you. I'm seriously very grateful for that. Like, I just feel stupid, but nevertheless, do you think it would be more prudent for the Colts, Chap? This, of course, is based on who's available and how expensive people are. But the Colts did make some room a couple weeks ago with some salary cap moves to free up some space.
Who did they redo? Kenny?
I think it was Kenny's contract. Yeah. They freed up a couple $1 million. But if edge rusher or cornerback would be the more likely target for Chris Ballard, which one do you think he could go after in the next couple of weeks?
I've always been a guy that I'd rather have the edge pass rusher. I just do. They can do more. Mm-hmm. In this instance, it's got to be a cornerback. It just does. There's been some names out there, which the guy from Cincinnati, Cam Taylor Britt, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the one I hear a lot.
Right.
Because played for Cincinnati, obviously.
Lou
Anarumo, that thing.
And there's a couple more, but I just think that you just can't keep playing at a high level on defense with these cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. You can't do it. And even if you get Jalen Jones back, I still think you need more. I think you can get a corner easier and cheaper if that's the right combination. Edge pass rush is probably going to cost you. I know people are going to say Trey Hendrickson. But the fact that Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh, and there's a chance that they could stay in this and get Burrow back, maybe they're not ready to just look to the
future
with him
yet, right?
Right. And the Colts had a serious interest in Hendrickson in the offseason, and all the reports are that the Bengals wanted a 1 and Grover Stewart. And Ballard, it was a bridge too far.
No, sir.
I talked with Chris, and they would not have had a problem working the contract, which would have been $30 million. I don't know what it would have been.
Right.
They were okay. They didn't want the cost compensation, and I'm guessing that the Bengals requests would be less, but still. And with Hendrickson, he's only had a 1 year, $29 million. So halfway through the year, he still owed 15 or whatever, 16. You would have to do some things. You'd have to readjust Quentin and probably Buckner.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 5 or 6 or 7 million under the cap.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of working cap space for when you need to do things. They didn't create that cap necessarily for players to bring in, but they can make it work. And I just think they're so bereft of reliable players at corner against, they have 3 sacks against the Chargers on 58 dropbacks.
Yeah.
But their pressure rate was and has been high. Mm-hmm. It's one of the top 5 in the league.
It is. Yeah. You look at the Colts pressure rate, it's really good. It's just for those of us who've watched the game and watched the team, it's like in the key situation where it's like a 3rd and 17 or a 4th and 7, when you want your guy to get home, they're not getting there. So that's why it's noticeable to us.
Well, and if the corner's held up a smidge longer,
half a second longer,
then you get home. So, I do get tired of the almost sacks because there's no category.
Yep.
For that.
It's not a stat.
Right. So, but I just think, maybe you disagree, I just think they need corner help. And I think he will go that way because, again, he's already done things he's never done before.
Yep.
He gave a safety and a corner $60 million contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And you could argue he gave, a pretty hefty contract to Daniel Jones. Those are things they've not done. And I think he understands, as everyone does, that this year, all of a sudden, you're in a pretty doggone good situation.
Yeah.
Best record in the league and what you can do. So, and you wouldn't be mortgaging the future to help the present. And I really think he'll do that at some point.
And if you're watching on our Fox 59 Now app or on YouTube, you see the AFC South standings. The Colts are now 2 games clear of the Jacksonville Jaguars in second place. Colts are 6-1. The only team in the NFL, in fact, with a record so sparkling, as we see, again, 6-1. The Green Bay Packers are also have 1 loss, but they also have a tie.
Right.
The lovely tie from
that's win percentage that they're ranking by there. So
exactly.
Then 5-2, you've got a bunch of 5-2 teams.
A lot of 5-2 teams.
The thing is, you look at this list, and those are all kind of quality NFL teams.
Right.
The Patriots being the biggest surprise there.
Yep.
But everybody else, the Buccaneers, Lions, Seahawks, Rams. I mean, these are good football teams.
They are, and the Colts are going to play some of them later in the year, like San Francisco. They get the Seahawks later in the year, so Kansas City later in the year. So this has the potential to be a really tough home stretch to the season. We talked about before the year that the Colts needed to make hay in the first half,
and they certainly
Chap believed that they could, and they certainly have. I did not. They have proven me wrong, which is fine.
In the tail end of the second half of the season, it's heavier on on division games.
Right.
You got Jacksonville twice.
Yep.
You got Houston twice.
Yep.
Well, all of a sudden, you don't know what those teams are.
I still think Houston's better than their record.
So do I.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at some point, you would think the offense would come together because they've got the best scoring defense in the league by a fair margin.
But the offensive line is
they are bad. They're very
horrific.
bad.
They could make some moves themselves for 1 or 2 players.
But again, everybody's looking for those guys at positions that no one has a surplus of.
You're right.
I need a left tackle.
So does everybody.
So does everybody. Exactly.
And that's where at least the Colts are in position with you're not going to get that top 10 pass rusher.
Right.
But you can get a guy that's going to give you consistent effort in sacks.
My thought about pursuing either pass rusher or cornerback is once you get your guys back from injury, like Ebukam or Charvarius Ward, etc., like what position still has the most potential for a newcomer, to make an impact? And I think that's at cornerback, because once you get your defensive ends back, I mean, you still got Ebukam and Latu and Kwity and Tyquan Lewis. All 4 of those guys should be, knock on wood, good to go for the rest of the year. Like, are you going to go out and sign someone who's better than one of those 4?
No.
I don't know about that. Or trade for someone who's better than one of those. Like, the only way, like, if you traded away Kwity Paye, if you decide now that you're not going to re-sign him in the offseason and trade him and a draft pick for a defensive end, for example.
Then you're getting a top
Exactly. Then you would, or cornerback, like one of the one like that. That would be an interesting trade to me if you make the decision now that you're not re-signing Kwity Paye. But I just don't know if they've made that decision, and I don't know if I would like completely agree.
I just don't know if it's a player. Certainly, there's not a corner that would require that kind of compensation.
Right.
Again, I think you're talking a 5, 6, or a 7-round pick, and where this team is, I don't care about those draft picks next year. I looked at some of the deadline deals from last year, just kind of reference, see who gave up what. And it's a lot of, second and third day draft picks, a lot of 5th round picks. Maybe occasionally in some of the deals there was like a 3rd rounder, but it's reasonable compensation for a team that needs a player. Right. Well, if I'm not mistaken, the only time Chris Ballard was traded before the deadline was in 2022 when Nyheim Hines requested a trade. Mm-hmm. And they traded him to Buffalo. They must have really liked Nyheim Hines, because I would imagine there were a fair number of players who would like to have jumped ship in 2022.
Yes, exactly.
There was a line at Chris's door.
I don't remember what happened in 2022.
Yeah, I don't. The further we get away from it.
Yeah. Yes. I have another stat, actually, that I saw. We'll do this before I move on real quick. The Colts are 14.5-point favorites, and we'll touch on this later in the show. This would tie the biggest spread in the league this season. The Colts have also been 2 touchdown favorites or more, 11 times. I think Kevin Bowen tweeted this out. 11 times since the year 2000 or something like that, and they're 10-1 in those games. That they're 2 touchdown underdog, just outright. The lone loss, 2021 final game against the Jaguars.
Was they get beat 26-11 or whatever?
Well, yeah.
Who was bad? Who was the quarterback?
Some
remember?
Guy.
I think is he with the Vikings?
Some guy who had no time to throw that entire game because the offensive line played one of its worst.
Mr. 27-7.
Yeah, 27-7 himself. But anyway, let's move on to revisiting.
Move on real
quick, exactly.
Huh?
We'll look. We'll look back to last week. The Colts beat the Chargers 38-24 at SoFi Stadium. Nostradamus Matt predicted the Colts would score 38 points himself last week, if you listen to the Colts Blue Zone podcast. So salute to Matt Adams right now.
Say one of these days you're like, we'll get a score right. And
exactly.
I didn't get the whole score right. It was pretty close. Mm-hmm. I said 38-28.
Yeah, I think it's pretty darn close. I remember week 1 of the 2022 season, the infamous tie with the Texans. It was 20. What was 20-20? I predicted 21-20 or something like that week. It was something that was the best prediction of my life, and of course I remember that one. But anyway, this game against the Chargers, JT 3 rushing touchdowns for the 3rd time this year. Also did so against the Titans early in the year, by the by. Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman Jr. caught touchdown passes. Pittman's up to 5-6 now, 5 I think.
5.
Yeah, on the
His
year.
Career high is 7, I believe.
Yeah, so Pittman is on the up.
And he told us that was the one stat, the one area that he needed to get better at. And he needed to get better at it.
And he certainly has. It helps to have the quarterback in there, I think, that they have right now, too. That is looking for him down there in those areas. No turnovers on offense. They allowed 1 sack against the Chargers front.
He's been sacked 6 times. Is that right?
Yep.
6 times.
All year.
7 games.
Pretty good. 2 sacks from DeForest Buckner, 1 from Laiatu Latu. All of those were in the 4th quarter, by the way, against a very banged-up Chargers offensive line. Interceptions from Grover Stewart himself.
Big Grove, big
man.
That's
right. Knocked it up in the air with his big claw taped up hands and was able to corral it as it's coming down from the sky.
You know what was wrong with that play, though?
What?
Not much yak.
No, there wasn't.
No yak.
No. He's got to get going, man. Nick Cross, also another one. It was a really nice play in the end zone.
It was
big play toward the end of the first half.
They've had 3 straight games with a red zone turnover.
Those are huge.
Yes, it is.
Just huge. Per Next Gen Stats, Amir Abdullah hit 20.39 miles per hour on his kickoff return, which was the 5th fastest ball carrier last week. I want to talk about the rush because this Colts defensive front, you look at the stats at the end of the game, and he got 3 sacks, and they were at clutch times in the 4th quarter, which is something that we've talked about in the past with some of the Colts defenders, that they haven't gotten them at the most important times. Well, they got them at the most important times. But for the first 3 quarters, I thought Justin Herbert was not all that uncomfortable in the backfield. There were times that there was some pressure, but I'm not saying there were none. But for the Chargers to be on their 5th and 6th offensive tackles or whatever it was, and for the Colts not to get any sacks until the 4th quarter and not significantly pressure him consistently until the 4th quarter, I thought was disappointing. And you can look back at the end and say, hey, they did what they needed to do at the final minute or the final minutes. I get it. That's fine. That's a fair point, and I completely agree. But you would have wanted, I think, the Rush to have done more in this game. And I thought that this was a bad sign for the defensive front, honestly, for this season. And when you look at prospects for this team and what they can do against the best teams in the league, like Justin Herbert threw for a career high 400-something yards. 420 in this game. And they're going to face some pretty darn good quarterbacks down the stretch. And this offense isn't going to score 38 every week.
You can't expect that.
I can't expect that. I think they're not going to be perfect. So I just am not comfortable with this defensive line against the best teams and the best quarterbacks in the league right now, because that's a argument, at least for making a bigger swing for a pass rusher. But again, those big moves are just so, as Matt referenced to last year with the moves at the trade deadline, they're so uncommon in the NFL. So that's at least one argument in the favor of a defensive lineman, even though I would say that cornerback is the one that could give you some more playing time moving forward, more likely moving forward.
I thought the pressure was better than what. Well, I think it was better than what you thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did have Herbert on the run a lot, and he threw some unbelievable throws on the run. He's almost a guy you want to keep in the pocket. But like the problem I've got, as we've talked about, is the edge guys. I think Buck had 2 sacks. And he was credited with 9 pressures.
He had a monster game,
which was like the second most in the league this year.
Mm-hmm. Monster fourth quarter.
But doggone, you're to your point, your primary pass rush, if it comes from the interior, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
There were like 2 or 3 years, at least 2 years, where he led him in sacks.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be. So I think it was better than what the raw numbers show, but not nearly good enough. But when you're going against so far down, their depth, what they're doing at tackle, the Colts are doing at cornerback. You're playing guys that you shouldn't be playing.
Right.
And when you throw the ball 58, when you have 58 dropbacks, you should have more than 3 sacks. I agree. I didn't think it was as bad as I've seen this year earlier, but not nearly good enough.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm overstating it to make the point, but like it wasn't horrendous, but I would just expect it to be really good against who you're playing, and it wasn't really good. Like it was good in the fourth quarter.
You can't live like that.
But yeah, like you can't. I think they just need more. They need more pressure from the front.
I do feel like they were fortunate. Turnovers change everything, right?
Oh yeah.
Because without those interceptions, because on both of those, obviously one was in the end zone, the other was on what was turning into being a pretty good drive from the Chargers when Grover intercepted the ball.
Right.
And obviously, if Chargers score there, we're talking about a completely different ball game. So, it does make a big difference that they got those turnovers. But again, like you said, especially in some key situations when you get a team into 3rd and long, the Colts had a couple of chances on that drive, which again, I don't think you're going to really argue too much when the other team's down 14 points and they're on a drive that's like 9+ minutes and they're not scoring, like because they dinked and dunked the whole way down the field on that drive.
And the clock was the more important thing at the time there.
Right. But I still, like, they had a 4th and 6 and I think a 4th and 7, and it's like you could really, close the door here, make them use their timeouts and that sort of thing, really shrink that clock a little bit more.
The stat that just jumps out at me is the last 2 weeks they've given up 740 or 50 passing yards.
Right.
To Justin Herbert, okay. But Jacoby Brissett threw for
Jacoby had a
3.
great game for the Cardinals.
It's the most yards in back-to-back games since 18 or 19. Might have been 19 against Drew Brees and Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston's famous 4 touchdowns, 3 or 4 interception game.
Yep.
So you just can't, and you're going to face better quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes is coming up. Trevor Lawrence. Not that you know what you've got there. C.J. Stroud twice. So yeah, it's got to be better. But I think it wasn't quite as bad as maybe what you would think. But to say it was good enough, it wasn't good enough.
No, that's acceptable. I think we can find common ground there. You're watching the Colts Blue Zone Podcast on Fox 59 now. And we'll turn our attention forward to the Tennessee Titans. Last meeting in week 3, the Colts beat them 41-20. That game was in Nashville. This week's game will be inside Lucas Oil Stadium. Since that game, the Titans have fired head coach Brian Callahan. They do have a win. Woo! 1-6 on the year.
And it was a crazy one.
It was
a fluky win,
very much so.
Still counts
Against
in the W column.
The Cardinals, who keep finding ways to lose at the final minute.
Are they a good team or a bad team? The Cardinals. I don't know.
Couldn't tell you.
I mean, give them 10 points to sprinkle around, and they're a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's
never good when you're finding ways to lose.
Exactly, that's not good.
And that was a memorable way to lose a football game.
It certainly was. They lost to the Patriots last week. The Titans did 31-13. The Patriots look really good, by the way. Like
they've got their acting.
Drake May is. Solid.
And Vrabel
in the Vrabel revenge game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that team was not losing that game. No. Not that you would think that you would pick them to because of how they were playing and how the Titans were playing, but yeah, they weren't going to lose that for Vrabel. Titans have scored just 7 touchdowns this season in their
JT's
7
got
games.
11, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I believe
Rushing.
so. Not too shabby, a little bit different. And 2 of those 7 actually came against the Colts.
Or no, JT has 10 rushing and then the receiving touchdown.
Okay. Cam Ward has been sacked more than any other quarterback in the NFL, 30 times. 30 sacks in 7 games. That is 4+ per game. Not great. What
was Derek Carr or David Carr sacked as a rookie? Like 67 times.
It was 60 or 70.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. You can ruin a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
You can.
Yep.
By getting
We've
him
seen
beat
it.
up. Yes, we have. But it was
76 times.
That's in
16 games. Yeah, back when it was So I was supposed to be, darn it.
So yeah, this is one where they've had problems and they're making it so much harder. And you got a rookie quarterback. I think I saw a note. I wish I had taken a picture of it about how many first overall picks have had their coach fired during the season or after his first season.
So it's happened a fair amount,
it's been
especially
like
in the last few years.
Right. So it's not. This is not the way you bring along a quarterback.
Right. No. So they better be right in the next guy they get.
Right.
Like they have taken
but it won't be his quarterback.
It's true. And that's going to be tough. Like, so does he turn into Josh Rosen? They just immediately go on from him next year and draft somebody?
That won't happen.
I don't think so.
But
yeah.
No, your point, but they're going to be in position to do that.
Right, exactly. Like right now, they're going to have a top 5 pick very easily. And
and they just had taken. I mean, he wasn't a top 5 pick, but they had Will Levis, 2nd round high pick the year before, and then they were really, really bad, and then they got Cam Ward. They're still really, really bad, and you do expect that with these rookie quarterbacks. It does take some time, but man, then you fire the head coach and just everything goes out the window.
Yeah. I mean, you keep whiffing on one position that you need. Like we've talked about a chap on this podcast in the past, like specifically with defensive end for the Colts. Like you keep whiffing, then you keep chasing, and it's a problem.
Mistakes.
Continually problem. Like it's exponentially worse at quarterback, exponentially. Than any other position, just because of how important that position is in the NFL. So, and how much your entire offense needs to be focused around the skills of one guy.
You build your roster, you build your personnel, you make moves around this quarterback and what he does.
Yep. So if you're chasing quarterback, it's like I said, infinitely worse. And the Titans kind of find themselves in that position.
Well, that's we've seen it here since Andrew Luck, back in whatever it was.
What are you talking about?
I know. So it's. And that's what and we'll talk about at some point when you finally hit on your guy with Daniel Jones, who has found his restart, but until you get the guy, you're just and what I always say too, one of the biggest problems when you keep thinking you have the guy, you're wasting your roster because he gets older.
Yep.
So
fair. Let's see. Ward has 1,350 passing yards or so, completing 57.6% of his passes. That's those are not good. Not a good percentage. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on the year, 14 carries, 36 yards. Tony Pollard, their running back, who's a fairly good running back,
good player,
but averaging less than 4 yards per carry. 380 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, has 20 catches, 122 yards. Tajay Spears did not play in the first game against the Colts. He's another running back that they've got in their lineup. Chimere DK returns their kicks and their punts. has 13 catches, 7 carries as well in his limited time.
Kind of a gadget guy. It seems like they've been employing him a little bit more lately.
All right. Calvin Ridley, their top receiver. They have a pretty good rookie there in Alec Iomenor.
Easy for you to say.
It is indeed. He was a 4th rounder. Been a pretty solid addition for as much as a bad passing offense. You can be a solid addition as a rookie. He has 19 catches for 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chigakonkwo, 23 catches, 218 yards, a tight end out of Texas. Gunnar Helm, tight end, 17 catches, 149 yards.
These guys have trouble with tight ends.
Yeah, they do.
Because you don't have linebackers that can cover them.
No. So still haven't seen Jalen Carlisle anywhere.
Anywhere.
Anything.
No.
Anything. Not a peep.
Yeah.
They did have a problem with Aronde Gadsden II with
Out
the
of?
Chargers, which is a Syracuse man.
That's right. My guy.
He had a huge game. He even had a long, because the Colts, to their credit, don't give up a ton of explosive plays in the passing game.
165, 156.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, just a huge game from that guy. And that does concern you, because the Titans do employ, obviously, a safety blanket, but Ward goes to those guys a lot.
Cedric Gray, linebackers, their tackles leader with 70, also has 2 interceptions, which is the most on the team. Jeffrey Simmons, a defensive tackle, been a good player for a long time, 4.5 sacks, most on the team. Linebacker Jermont Jones has 2. Arden Key at linebacker has 1.5. So certainly no world beaters out there. Simmons, though, is listed as week to week.
He's probably their best player.
Yes, for sure. I would agree with that, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and probably on the offensive side too, because offense isn't anything to write home about.
I saw talk to about teams. Are you a seller or are you a buyer at this point? And they sort of made it clear that Jeffrey Simmons is not available.
Right, he's the one guy.
You've got to have after the quarterback. You've got to have some cornerstone players, and he's one of them.
Right. And that's a good one to have. Like good guy to try to build around. You get your defensive tackle and build out from there. The Colts, by many metrics, are the best team in the NFL. In spite of the Jets being 0-7, by many metrics, the Titans are the worst team in the NFL. And we'll talk offensively. Points per game, Colts are 33.1. That's first in the league. Titans 32nd, dead last, scoring 13.7.
There's a lot of dead last or close to dead last here for the Titans.
Points allowed, the Titans are 28th. They're allowing 27.4 points per game. Colts in the top 10 at 8th in the league.
Still surprises me that they're that high.
It is 20 points per game.
Right. It seems like they've given up more than that.
They've had just a couple games where those, like the Denver game, the Chargers game, they scored a couple late.
Right.
Like they've allowed just spurts, which makes you kind of put that over the course of the season, I think. And so total offense, Titans dead last, 32nd in yards per game, 235.6 yards per game. Colts are second in the league in yards, 380.
Behind the Cowboys.
That's right, the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak Prescott, who's having a heck of a year.
Phenomenal year.
At quarterback. MVP type.
If they only had a pass rusher.
If they could only stop people.
I think they had one.
I can't remember.
And he might be leading the league in either sacks or pressures or hits or plays that make a difference.
Well, Eagle fans will be very happy, and Cowboys and Giants and Commanders too. But anyway, passing yards, Titans 31st. Rushing yards, Titans 31st. Colts are 5th in passing yards, 7th in rushing yards. So we have a team that's second to last in both passing and rushing yards. They are equally bad in both measures.
You like consistency in a team.
That's right.
They are consistent. I'll give them that.
As Jeff Saturday said, God bless you. And good luck. Total defense, Titans are 24th. So still that defense is not fantastic by any stretch. Colts are 22nd. They're both similar in yards in yards given up, rather. Colts have just done a much better job of keeping teams out of the end zone. Pass defense, Titans are 14th. They have a decent pass defense, 210 yards per game. It's because teams are running against them.
139. Wow.
39 yards per game, 4.5 yards per rush. And that's, again, Jonathan Taylor had 3 touchdowns the last time these two teams played. And the Colts were able to get him loose there in Nashville. Colts are 6th in the league in rush defense, allowing just 90 yards per game. A lot of it because
nobody is able to run against them they don't.
You're playing from behind.
Exactly. And so that's why the Colts are 29th in the league in pass defense, 255 yards per game, and giving up 420 to Justin Herbert did nothing to help that number right there. However, being a win, I think the Colts take it.
Yeah, it's funny. Of course, stats obviously week to week are going to change, but the Colts were kind of middle in the pack, pass defense-wise, yardage-wise, but after those back-to-back games, like Chap mentioned, with Brissett and Herbert, that is
all of a sudden
taking that rating a little bit.
And we're still at the point of the season in the first half of the year there where one or two bad games in a row can really, we're not in weeks 13 or 14.
It's like when in baseball, if you go 2 for 13 in the first 3 weeks, you're okay. You go later in the season, and it really didn't impact your batting average much, but they're just it's one where you want to give the defense props for making the plays that mattered against the Chargers, but you're getting gashed for 400 and some yards. It's hard to sustain that because you're putting so much pressure on this offense to do it game after game.
Turnovers. Titans are -3. They've forced 9 turnovers in their 7 games, and they've given up 12 turnovers. Colts are +7. They forced 11, and they've only had 4 turnovers themselves on offense, which is fantastic.
Is it 3 interceptions and a fumble? Is that what it is?
Yep. Because Jones had the 2 interceptions against the Rams, and he threw another one against the Raiders.
But they've had 5 Cardinals. They've had 5 to 7 games with no turnovers,
and then it was just the Mitchell fumble,
right?
And that was in the Rams game,
right?
That'll win you a lot of games.
Yes,
if
they've done such a great job of taking care of them.
And when the one fumble is a
bonehead,
we would have needed a bleep on mine. But it's just. Yeah, it's just turnovers. That's the biggest stat that determines wins and losses all season.
Yep, and that's probably a good reason why the Colts sit atop the NFL with a 6-1 record. Injury report from Wednesday. We got a new one every day, but as we tape this podcast on Thursday, we have Wednesdays right in front of us. Titans had 13 players listed on their injury report Wednesday, 7 of them starters. Players who did not practice include Blake Hance, the guard, punter Johnny Hecker with an illness, linebacker Arden Key with a quad, defensive end James Lynch with a shoulder, wide receiver Bryce Oliver, wide receiver Calvin Ridley with a hamstring, defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons with a hamstring, Colts cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. You put him in the wrong section here, man. You got to put L'Jarius Sneed down there in the Colts.
Wrong team.
Guaranteed that
easy mistake.
It's done.
Easy
it happened.
mistake.
Which, by the way, the great coincidence that L'Jarius Sneed is injured as well. The cornerback who is supposed to be a Colt, allegedly, who is every other Colts cornerback is injured, so it's only fitting.
Just
really
bring him over and put him on IR.
That L'Jarius Sneed is hurt over there too.
The team did this afternoon put L'Jarius Sneed on injured reserve. For the Titans. Do you know who they brought up from the practice squad for the 53-man roster? Joe Bocci.
Really?
Linebacker Joe Bocci.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
familiar face.
Good for Joe. Yeah. Happy for him.
Right.
As long as he's playing special teams, doing what he's supposed to, then that's
blocking
that's
in the
good.
back on a kickoff return.
Oh my gosh! So I knew somebody because Ashton Doolin was getting some more play that week. Quick story, because A.D. Mitchell was not going to play a whole lot.
Right.
I had a friend who got on Ashton Doolin to score a touchdown and to score the first touchdown of the game. So he had bets on both of those. And that was an $800 swing for him that they called that penalty.
For a few seconds, he thought, hey.
Exactly. He was very happy. And then he was very sad.
That is tough.
It is. That is tough. It is very unfortunate. So God bless you. And that's why it's called gambling. And that's why they're building casinos and not tearing them down anywhere. Just a fair warning to everyone out there. Other players on the injury report for the Titans limited. Sebastian Joseph Day, their defensive end with a calf. Safety Xavier Woods with an ankle. Rest days for running back Tony Pollard, linebacker Jihad Ward, former Colt himself, and guard Kevin Zeitler. For the Colts, 7 players listed on the injury report. Tyquan Lewis with his groin, Samson Ebukam with his knee, Kenny Moore with his Achilles did not practice. Limited in practice, Josh Downs with his concussion. Jalen Jones with that hamstring working back off injured reserve. And playing in full on Wednesday, Ashton Doolin with his chest injury, Tyler Goodson with a groin injury, and Braden Smith gets a rest day there on Wednesday. So not a disastrous injury report, but to have both of those defensive ends who might not practice is certainly going to put a little bit of strain on the defensive front against the offensive front that has allowed 30 sacks, the most in the NFL, I believe it is.
It is, yeah. And it is. I think Ward's been sacked 30 times, and then the next guy, the quarterback has been sacked the next most is Justin Fields at 22.
Okay.
Looking at an update from participation today,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Downs practicing. He had the red jersey on yesterday. No red jersey today. So he's progressing. Although, again, let's give the caveat that Alec Pierce went through this and then
didn't
play.
But Kenny Moore was back practicing, so I think we're going to see management days for him.
Kind of like with T.Y. Hilton a few years ago.
Yeah,
you know,
and they do that with Buck and Grover Stewart and Braden Smith.
Yeah.
Tyler Goodson practiced. No Tyquan Lewis today. No Samson Ebukam. And Jalen Jones practiced again.
All right, good.
So
good sign.
In my mind, the big question will be: Will they push it? Will Jalen Jones's rehab allow him to play this week? And that's the main thing.
All right. The Colts take on the Titans inside Lucas Oil Stadium, 4:25 kickoff. If you're in Central Indiana, that game will be broadcast on CBS 4. Be sure to tune into the Colts Blue Zone pregame show at CBS 4 as well, 11:30 Sunday morning. Betting line, as I mentioned earlier, Colts 14.5-point favorites, which would match the biggest spread in the NFL this season.
You usually do not see two touchdown spreads in the NFL, man, because those games almost always come down to the wire. It's usually a one-score thing.
That was the Bills and Saints game a couple weeks ago. Was the first 14.5-point spread in the league this
Saints
season.
Covered, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Saints covered that one.
That's a lot of points.
14.5 is a lot, man. It really is. So
if you look around some of the pick places, it's like because they're not picking straight up the game, they're picking against the spread. Right. A lot of people saying the Titans will, be up, not lose by 14, basically.
Right. I mean, the Colts beat them by 21 the first time around, though. So you look at that, and you're like, they can do it. I
tried to go back and looked at, and I didn't do it really carefully, but the last time the Colts swept the Titans with at least 10-point wins was like 2018, because normally they're not blowouts like that. Maybe one is, and then the other team comes back a little bit. So
very rare to see that big of a spread in a divisional game.
I remember there was a game back it was in the 90s with Eric Dickerson, and the Colts were like a 17 or 18-point underdog going to Buffalo.
I was going to say, playing the Bills probably in those early 90s, the K-gun offense.
And somebody mentioned, this is like you get in college football with those kind of spreads. You just don't see. Did you mention, have we talked about, maybe Kevin Bowen mentioned it, when's the last time the Colts were 14-point favorites?
I don't know, but they were 2021, like I mentioned, the last week of the 2021 season. That had to be it.
With Jacksonville,
but they lost. So
go back. It's interesting.
Yeah. So that Kevin tweeted that out.
I'll check.
Fact they're like
KB comes up with good stuff.
He does for sure. And so immediately when he said 10-1, I immediately, of course, went to where was the one? Looked it up and. Ooh,
Jacksonville road game.
That's what I figured. That it had to be a Jacksonville road game, but I just didn't know which Jacksonville road game it was. It could have been the first week of 2020, for all I know, that they lost down there.
That's what
that was the only game Jacksonville won that year.
Because being 6-1, I saw some of these sites where they've got like a 96% chance to make the playoffs.
Yep.
And I was thinking, I'm old enough to remember when they had a 98% chance to make the playoffs with 2 games to go.
I'm old enough to remember when they had like a 99.9% chance to beat the Vikings.
Right. Oh, God. 33-0.
That season didn't happen.
What year was that? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's gone. So crazy.
Yes, it's very much still up in the air. Let's give our predictions. I'll go first. Chap goes second. Matt, you can round us out. And then I've got a trivia question for you guys before we wrap up today, one that I saw this week. So it's a little bit of a deep tease. Colts are going to win this game. If they lose, something awful happened, so we're not going to
injury-wise.
We're not going to even entertain that thought, which of course has never happened before in the history of Colts football. 41-20 the first time. I'm going to go with I think that this is a Colts win. We'll go 30-20, like right around that range. I don't know if they cover the spread once again, but it's still a solid win at home by 2 scores. And very comfortably move on to the next week. Chap, what do you think?
This is one of those games for bettors that there'll be a cheapy touchdown at the end by Tennessee.
Right.
To
ruin your day.
Right. Yeah, I think I just whenever you think, again, it's too good to be true and all this, I think this is one of those. I'm thinking 35-17. One of the things that for so long I've talked about this offense and can it keep going and I've been mentioning it, and maybe Daniel Jones has been listening to me, but he talked the other day that about the offense. He said, well, we're not doing anything exotic or crazy. We're just executing. And that's what I said. That's why this is sustainable. Barring injury to one or two people, why can't they? Because they're not doing anything stupid.
Yep.
And one crazy stat is that he's had 100+ rating in 6 out of 7 games.
Pretty good.
And I went back to check how many times that's happened in team history.
How many times?
1.
Whew.
That he's the list.
That's it.
And this is a franchise that has Luck and Manning and Burt Jones and Johnny Unitas. So I'm still waiting for that Jonathan Taylor game. 20 carries for 180.
Yeah.
So I think 35-17. I just think that they've got so much going. And one other stat, again, they don't have a 100-yard receiver. That's crazy. A team that's scoring like that. They haven't had that. Johnny Pierce had 98 last week.
Yeah, he was really close last week.
That is 5th in the league in passing yards per game.
Right.
Yes.
And no guy. Because they got guys. So, yeah, I think it's 35-17. And even with the 17, I think they get a chippy at the end to make it look better.
Look, I've been critical this past offseason about the Colts not having a guy at wide receiver. Famously, I was like, I don't know. I don't like it that much. But this is the model. This is the model for doing it with just guys. And it's just so rare that it happens.
I asked Shane Steichen Wednesday, I said, as an offensive guy, would you rather have the guy, again, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or A.J. Brown, or would you rather have 4 or 5 guys? He said, well, I like it the way it is right now.
I like it the way. So that's the PR answer.
Right. So, but again, it forces your receivers to understand that you may get 3 targets this week or an 8 the next week. But when it's working, if you're a receiver and you're PO'd over your targets, how do you say anything?
Right.
Because it's working.
Yep. Matt Adams, your pick.
I'm going to go with Colts this week. I don't think that's a huge surprise for anybody who watches the podcast, but or listens to the podcast. I'm going to go 34.
Because you're a homer.
Exactly. I'm going to go 34 to, let's say, 20.
Yes, the 34 or the 30-plus point streak continues, all of us think, for the Colts this week. All right, my stat or my trivia question before we wrap things up. I saw this just tweeted out or on Facebook or something the other day, and I thought it was super interesting. Since the advent of the Super Bowl, every sitting U.S. president during that time has seen the same team win the Super Bowl at least twice. Like one team has won multiple Super Bowls during their time as president, except one. Only one president since the beginning of the Super Bowl has seen a different team win the Super Bowl in each of his years as president. Who is that president? And just as a hint, the first president was Lyndon B. Johnson. He saw Green Bay the first 2 years as an example. So it's not him.
So it's not James Garfield then?
No, we don't go all the way back to the Garfield administration. So Lyndon B. Johnson, LBJ, is as far back as we go. So which one U.S. president saw a different Super Bowl champion, a different team, every year that he was in office?
Or the 6? I was going to jump to Nixon, but I'm trying to think what years they weren't.
Right.
Because the Patriots had their run, the Steelers had their run, Dallas had their run. Gosh, Obama?
You are right, Mike Chappell.
I threw it against the wall, and I don't know why.
Well, you're completely right, which stunned me that somebody who was in office for 2 terms.
2 terms.
Yeah. And especially when you're thinking this, you're thinking Patriots dynasty.
But they had that dry spell.
Exactly. They did. And Obama had 8 different.
That was a pure guess. I didn't know that.
You are the only one that has guessed your first guess correct.
Then I knew that.
Good job, Chap.
Yeah,
well done. But yeah, everybody, they'll guess Nixon because he was only in there for a couple of years, and they'll guess Jimmy Carter, they'll guess Gerald Ford, all these one-term presidents, or even H.W. Bush, the first Bush, but he had a couple of San Francisco ones there at the end of the 80s. Yeah. So, of course, Clinton had the Cowboys in the 90s.
Trump's had KC.
Trump's had KC and Philadelphia, actually, both of them, yes. So, and George W. Bush had Patriots there during his time.
That's interesting.
It is.
That was a just dumb guess.
And the Steelers had a couple back in the Ford and the
they won 2 twice.
Yeah, they won like 5 and 4 and 5 years, but that was split between two
Dallas
different presidents.
Dallas
won a couple back there as well. Yes, so
two with Johnson and one with Switzer.
I think Carter might have had Dallas.
That's interesting.
Yes, it was stunning to me again that Barack Obama in a 2-term president out of all those was the one
Super Bowl champ every year.
Yes, exactly. So that's Dave's random stat of the week, which I do not intend to repeat every week. Just
that's kind of like that streak of is it they've not had the same winner of the NFC East.
Yes,
in like 20 years.
It's ludicrous.
It's unbelievable. Dan Graziano always mentions that. It's like 21 years.
Yes, it's a crazy stat, and Eagles trying to bounce out of that this year, but the Cowboys are going to make a run. I think they like George Pickens all of a sudden is a competent NFL receiver when he's getting the ball and not whining and crying and making trouble for all of his teammates out there. So hey, if it works,
but the funniest thing, and I know we're running up against the time, but
we're about to wrap up.
There was reports that Jerry had interest in Max Crosby before the Raiders threw that. I thought, you had your guy. Because if you get Crosby, I mean, he's got that kind of money anyway.
That's just admitting that you messed up.
Right.
If you make a move like that, like, I was wrong. But Jerry would never say that. No,
never.
But anyway, we do appreciate you listening and watching the Colts Blue Zone podcast. If you're on YouTube or our Fox 59 Now app, you can download, subscribe, get us delivered to your podcast listening device as soon as we drop every week. Colts Titans this weekend, 4:25 on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Blue Zone on CBS 4 if you're in Central Indiana. Take care. We'll see you next week.